All right, guys, the day is finally here. We've waited, what, 5 years for this? So finally, the PRS MT100 has been released. I know you've probably already seen a dozen or so videos on it, but I finally got my hands on one thanks to Motor City Guitar. So if you like what you hear and see in this video, there is an affiliate link to Motor City Guitar in the description of this video. If you click on that link, it'll take you to their website. Just do a search for the MT100 and you can order it for yourself while helping my channel out at the same time. And since they were kind enough to allow me to take this home to do the demo for you guys, I think they deserve the business, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do this demo. I mean, thank God for stores like that who actually believe in my channel and support me. I really appreciate that very much. Other ways to support the channel is you can click on the link in the description to tonewars.com, and that'll take you to my website so you can get some awesome presets and captures for Quad Cortex, Tonex, and the Kemper. I specialize in brutal high gain tones and glorious cleans as well. And there's a huge variety of packs to choose from on the website. All right, so on with the video. Okay, so I have watched, I think all, or at least a dozen of the videos out there on this amplifier, and I gotta tell you, I'm kind of concerned, you know. I watched Mark Tremonti's video, and I thought it sounded freaking amazing in his video. Like that opening song that he opened up with, I was like, oh my God, this thing sounds brutal as hell. And I was excited about that. And I watched a bunch of other videos, not naming names, and this is no disrespect to their channels or them at all, but I just was like, yeah, it sounds a little generic on the channels that I watched it on, and I just didn't hear anything that was blowing my skirt up, you know? I mean, it was decent, sounded good, it didn't sound bad, but I just was expecting a little bit more. So my goal today is to do an initial dial-in of the amplifier. I have the camera on it right here. I literally took it out of the box, put it on the table. I have not even played one riff or chord or anything through it at all. So I figured we can go on a little journey together and discover this amplifier together, you know, as all of us probably would when they first unbox it. So I'm going to start with the clean channel, then I'm going to go to channel 2. I won't spend a lot of time over there because even if it's a great channel, which I'm hoping it is, that type of channel just doesn't really work for me. I don't really play that way, but we'll mess around with it for a few minutes anyways, and then we'll move on to the high gain stuff, which is pretty much what you guys are all here to see. So let's go ahead and start with the clean channel now and just do an initial dial in, and I want to try to get the chimiest, warmest, most glorious cleans out of it as I can, and then I'll dress it up with some effects. And like I said, when I get to the high gain channel, I want to make this thing sound as nasty and brutal and amazing as I can, and I want to see if I can get this thing past the generic tones that I've been seeing on YouTube. And again, no disrespect to the other YouTubers, everybody has different tastes, so I totally understand that. We all go for different things, but I want to see how nasty I can get this thing to sound. So let's start with the clean channel now. We got some pretty big hum there. See, yeah, the noise gate will take care of some of that. Yeah, so the clean channel's pretty good so far. Pretty simple dial-in, nothing major had to do with it. So let's go ahead and turn on the Julia chorus. and the flashback 2 delay and see how it sounds when we dress it up a little bit, and I'll do some further dialing in. Okay, so Mark, according to his video, he does a lot of picking with his fingers. So let's see what it sounds like with that. Maybe it's voiced for that, because this is a signature amplifier. So, you know, we got to understand that he's going to be going for stuff that works best for him, and hopefully that aligns with the people who buy the amplifier as well. So let me do the old finger picking thing, which isn't something I normally do, but let's just see. All right, so it's definitely a very usable, clean channel. Very good. You know, I don't see anything wrong with it. So just depending on your taste, I mean, you're going to like it more or less. So yeah, I mean, there's really not much more I could do with it, you know. Give me a second. Okay, so yeah, definitely a good clean channel. I got to tell you though, this hum. So when I turn off the, this hum is kind of, kind of disappointing in a way. You know, it's not a deal breaker, but it's kind of like, really, we got the hum from the MT15. Now it's on the MT100. Like, that was one of the biggest complaints about the MT15 was that freaking hum. I don't know if this is bad or worse or whatever or better, but it's there and it's on a clean channel, and it's kind of like I said, it's not a deal breaker, but it's a little bit of a, you know, something to take note of. I'm just, you know, telling you guys what I think. All right, so now let's switch over to the second channel and dial that in, and the overdrive is off, but I'll see if I can do something with the overdrive after I get it dialed in. I heard that these tone stack knobs don't do a whole lot, but let's mess around with it. Yeah, so it's true. The tone stack doesn't do a lot, but it's a decent sounding channel. It's like a, you know, kind of a classic rock crunch channel. It's not super bright or whatever. I mean, there's not a ton of crazy amounts of character to it, but maybe with a boost pedal we can wake it up a little bit. So let's try the odd box and see what that sounds like. It's in UK mode. Yeah, it's a decent crunch channel. It definitely loves a boost. So if you boost it, it gets a lot more responsive, fuller sounding, especially with the odd box, and gets that nice little bit of snarl to it. And I can see why a lot of guys who play classic rock, maybe even like AC/DC plus type stuff, this would really work for. It's actually pretty cool. It's not a channel I would use a lot, but it's kind of cool to have something different there for times that I might need something like that. You know, do some mellow tunes or maybe even some mellow leads or something moody or whatever. I don't know, but it seems pretty cool. So now let's move on to the high gain stuff, and that's the part I've been waiting for as well. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I literally have not played this thing at all yet. So I have mixed feelings about how this is going to sound and feel. Like I said, the videos I've seen so far haven't really been super convincing to me regarding how brutal this can get, but let's see how nasty we can get it. I'll turn the boost off, and I'll switch over to the camera and the high gain channel now. And my goal, like I said, is to make this thing sound just freaking evil. So let's see what she has. All right, I'm going to shut the switch off for the amp real quick. Yeah, that hum is, I hope they address that. I really do. It's, like I said, it's not a deal breaker, but it's just something where it's like, why? You know, you're making the 100-watt version. Maybe that should have been addressed. Like I said, I just have to say something because I noticed it. All right, so it's definitely pretty tight and percussive without the overdrive. It sounds decent. Let's engage a boost now because I don't really think there's much else I can do with this channel. You know, I mean, I have things dialed in, you know, pretty much best I can get them without a boost. So let me engage a boost while I'm playing. Well, before I do that, let's just mess around with the the settings a little bit more. Let me see if I can get this thing to sound super nasty without the boost. And again, it does sound decent here, and it does have a good feel and response, but I boost every amp, so it's just the way it is. Okay, so yeah, I think by turning the treble up to here and the presence up a little bit, I got more bite out of it without the overdrive, and it still remained pretty responsive. It's pretty tight, you know. It really is. It's a pretty tight amplifier without a boost. Would I play it without one? No, but there's probably some people that would. There's definitely a few anti-boost people out there, you know, but you know who you are. I use a boost anyway, so let's do this. I have the settings the way they are right now. I do like how this sounds. Juice the gain just a hair, put it up to like 1 o'clock. And I'm going to engage 3 different pedals. I'm going to start with the odd box and see how it sounds with that, and I'll tell you what other pedals I'm going to try after that. Okay, so the boost definitely woke it up and made it sound a lot and feel a lot better for me. And that's to be expected. That's how I do everything anyway. So now let's go from the odd box over to the Mesa Grid Slammer and see how it sounds with that. All right, I like it with the grid slammer as well. The nice thing about the grid slammer is it allows a little more low end to go through just like the odd box, but not as much. So it's a little tighter than the odd box, and it has a nice top end on it. And the reason for that is because I got the tone knob cranked, and that's how I really like that pedal. It sounds really good with it. You know what? Let's try the Mud Killer. Let's see how the Mud Killer is with it. It's on right. You know what? I'll have it off, and then I'll turn it on while I'm playing. Sounds great with the Mud Killer. So I have the fat skinny knob at like just past 10 o'clock, and then I turn the tone knob up a little bit to give it a little more snap or bite or whatever you want to call it on the top end, and that actually sounds really good as well. All right, so I'm going to try going from the Mud Killer to the Odd Box to the Grid Slammer and see which one I prefer. All right, flip this off here. Boom, silence, amazing. So yeah, I like it. I like it with all three of the pedals, to be honest with you. But if you want that little bit extra bite on the top end, I think the Grid Slammer would be a good way to go. If you want something a little more sculpted, go with the Mud Killer. But if you want like the kind of the best of both worlds, you get a nice snap to the top end, but really beefy sound. I think the Odd Box would be the way to go. So it just depends on your taste. But yeah, so far I think it's a good sounding amplifier. I'm trying to place it like what I would compare it to out there, but in a way, there's nothing about the overall tone of it that's like super unique, it's not like, oh my god, this sounds so different and unique from anything else I've ever heard. It sounds like it's just kind of in the middle of everything that's out there, so whether that's a good thing or not, that's up to you, but there's definitely some good characteristics here. I mean, I like it. It has a likable tone, and I think as I play it a little bit more, I'll be doing some shootouts with it in other amps. Maybe I'll notice some things that are different about it. I mean, I'm just giving you my first impressions here, and you don't really know how an amp is going to fare like out in the world, like how it's going to compare to other units and how well it's going to be received by everybody until you compare it to other units out there. Because there's times, let me turn this fan off here, there's times where I'll play something and be like, oh my God, this is so freaking brutal. This is one of the most brutal tones ever. Then I compare it to amps that are on my shelf that are actually like bona fide, brutal, ridiculous amplifiers. And then I find out like, well, it's not so brutal after all, So I want to see how this compares to, I think I'm going to compare it to my Splon Nitro, and I'm obviously going to shoot it out with the MT15. Now, one thing I can say, and I'm just going by memory here, one of the things that I can say is the MT15 had a bit of a congested top end. It still sounded good, but it was a little congested up there, especially when you compare it with other amplifiers. This doesn't seem to have that issue. This seems to be a little more dynamic on the top end, a little more open, a little more clarity, not so much congestion going on up there. So I think that that's definitely an improvement. But again, I won't really know what the exact characteristics of this amp are until I compare it to other ones. Then I could, zone in on like, oh, it's this kind of amp or whatever. These are just my first impressions, and I try to keep things real and honest here with you guys, and I'm just shooting from the hip here, just telling you what I think as I'm experiencing things. So with that, I think I do have this dialed in about as good as I can get it. Let me go back to the odd box, and I'm going to crank the tone knob all the way up. I think I can get away with cranking the tone knob all the way up on most of my pedals with this amp because this is it allows for that. There's a little bit of darkness in here that allows for that. And I'll just do a quick mix for you guys. Let me go ahead and dial it in a little further if need be and do a mix. All right, man, I don't know. I switched to the odd box, cranked the tone knob all the way up on that, and then I attenuated the mids for that. I added some more mids, and all of a sudden it started kind of coming forward more, and then I adjusted the treble and the gain just a hair, and it's kind of like, well, yeah, I'm digging this now. I'm actually digging it more than I did before. Before I was kind of like, yeah, it's a good amp, it's good, but there's nothing jumping out at me about it really right now. But right now I'm kind of like, all right, I think this is actually starting to impress me quite a bit. So a couple more riffs and then I'll do a mix. Pretty good lead channel as well. The effects loop is awesome. It doesn't have any weirdness going on with it. No darkness, like some effects loops, they have that wind underneath all your effects and stuff like that. I'm not hearing any of that. It's very clear, Very nice effects loop. Let's do a little more on that. And I know I keep changing gears here, but this is literally me discovering this amp for the first time. This isn't going to be one of those super planned out videos. All right. Not bad, man. Not bad at all. Maybe the lead tone, if we're going to do leads with it, I'd probably want to take some of the top end off a little, but pretty good. Pretty freaking good. Let's do this mix. It's just mainly a rhythm mix. Let's just do that, and maybe I'll do another one. I think the chugs are thick and nasty. They're this pretty full. This is a pretty big sounding amplifier. It's thick, really thick. And there's definitely some stuff as I play it more that's jumping out at me about it. And yeah, it's impressing me. It's actually a pretty cool amp. It's funny how you're seeing me kind of change my mind about things as I go here. This thing had an uphill battle with me today because like I was saying earlier, the videos I saw, it just sounded kind of generic in the videos. I couldn't really place it, and I was just like, I don't know, man. It just sounds kind of generic in some of the videos. And no slight to them, guys. It's just what I heard. Let me do this mix and see what it sounds like in here. This is a good mix to test things out with. a couple little mistakes in there, but I do one take mixes here. I don't want to do a billion takes, but yeah, yeah, sounds good. I'll be doing more videos with this. I think that, God, that hum, jeez. I'll be doing more videos with this and comparing it to other amplifiers. So first impressions, it's growing on me. I think the clean channel is good. I think channel 2 it's actually better than I expected, because some of the videos I watched, I was like, yuck. But it's actually a pretty cool channel. I mean, it's like AC/DC plus, you know? So it's a decent clean channel, or a decent middle gain channel. I don't know what the hell it is, but I guess it's supposed to be like a Dumble. I've never played a Dumble, so I don't feel like selling my house so I can afford one. But I guess that's his take on what he can get closest to a Dumble channel. And the high gain channel is definitely a good channel. How good is it? I won't know until I compare it to other stuff, you know? And, you know, that's really how I figure things out here. I have my benchmark amps. EVH Stealth's one of them. Splon Nitro is probably going to be another. And I don't know. I'll figure something out here. You know, I compare it. And I'm also going to compare it to the MT15, like I said 3 billion times earlier. So, but so far, I think it's a good amp. I do. I think it's actually a pretty cool amplifier. There's definitely some impressive things about it. I do like the tone of the high gain channel. It's thick, it's beefy, it does have a decent amount of aggression to it. And I think with this amplifier, don't be afraid to crank the tone knob on your overdrive pedal. Do that, because this amp kind of wants you to. It's a teeny bit dark, and I don't mean that as a slight to the amplifier. Some amps just don't have a ton of spike in them as far as the top end goes. This one's a little smoother, so if you want to add that spike, do it with your pedal. Is it tight without a pedal? Yeah, it's pretty friggin' tight, but it's not as responsive as I want it to be, so I use a boost. And that is not a slight to the amp either, because I use a boost with every single amp. I don't care if I spent $15,000 on an amplifier, I'd still use a boost. So on the other side of things, I mean, those are the things I liked about it. So on the other side of that, I was a little disappointed with the noise floor. I mean, that hum is, if you're going to have an amp that's $1,800 or whatever the price is, I think it's around $1,800, and it's like the big boy, you know, it's the big boy in comparison to the MT15. I was hoping that the hum wouldn't be there. Is it a deal breaker? No, it's not a deal breaker, but it's just one of those things that if I was in the testing part of things, I'd be like, can we get rid of that freaking hum? I mean, you know, seriously, how much work would that be? How much would it cost? Maybe it's something that they had to leave in there because of, you know, cost. I don't know, but that's something that would drive me nuts in the testing phase. I'd be like, we got to get rid of that, guys. It's going to put it at $2,000. Fine, put it at $2,000, because that hum is something I think we should address. Not a deal breaker, but we should address it. As far as how does it look, looks pretty cool. Yeah, it's a nice looking amplifier. I really like the look and the fit and finish of it. I love that you can see all the knobs clearly. Everything's sectioned off. Very easy to find where you're at. The different light per channel. You know, very cool. Simple. Now, it's a pretty simple, straightforward design, which some people like. But there's other people who would want MIDI, which this amplifier does not have. It does not have MIDI. So if you're on your high gain channel and you're ripping some solos and you want to go to your clean channel, which has like chorus and delay and maybe some reverb or whatever on it, you might be doing some tap dancing because you don't have MIDI to be able to switch all that stuff instantaneously for you. So that could be something that other people don't like. I'm not a touring musician anymore, so it doesn't matter that much to me, but I still like to use MIDI down here when I'm switching patches and doing my mixes and stuff. It is nice to have. Now, there is something that can overcome that for you, and Sir just came out with a box that converts, you know, like quarter-inch to MIDI, or MIDI to quarter-inch. Yeah, that's how it goes, or something like that, whatever. So they say that you can operate a lot of amplifiers with that, and they say it'll operate most amps with MIDI. I don't know how it would work with this, because this is a DIN plug on the back, but there are also companies out there who make cables that convert MIDI cables to DIN, which would work on an amp like this. I know they do that for the EVH Stealth and other EVH amps, so they probably come up with one for this as well. So There's ways around it, but it would be nice if they had MIDI. I'm not certain how many guitar players would use that, but there are enough players that use MIDI to justify putting it in a lot of different amplifiers out there. Again, I think it might be a cost thing. Who knows? I don't know how Mark gets around that when he's touring. Maybe he's got a pretty elaborate rig and he's got all those cables and those little MIDI switcher conversion thingies out there to help him out with that, but I'm not really sure. I've never been to one of his shows. He's an amazing guitar player. I do want to come see him play sometime. I don't know if he's up there doing the river dance every time he changes patches or not, but I would be. So that's something that I would want to have. Now, whether that's a deal breaker, that's up to you to decide for yourself. But overall, first impressions of the amplifier, I would say that it's a good amplifier. And maybe after I compare it with some other ones, I will learn to appreciate it some more. We'll find out. So stay tuned to the channel for those episodes and those shootouts. I'll be doing those probably within the next day or two. Well, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all my Patreon supporters and my subscribers. And if you're new to the channel and you like what I do here, pretty much straightforward, honest gear reviews, please subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified every time I either go live or come out with another episode. Well, I got a lot more stuff coming up for you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.